Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I think we are about to begin our evening. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. My name's Emma. I use she, her pronouns. I am one of our event coordinators here at Shelf Life Books. We're very excited tonight to be hosting number 202 of Single Onion, which also, yes, it's extra special because it gets to serve as a birthday celebration for one Bruce Hunter. So we're hoping for some additional fanfare and energy tonight. To begin, I'd like to say that we are gathered in celebration in Mohkinstsis on the lands of the Treaty 7 people, including the Blackfoot from Siksika, Gaina, and Bagani, the Dene Sarsi from Tsuut'ina, and the Stoney Nakoda from Morley, the Bearspaw, Chiniki, and Goodstoney First Nation. We also walk in the footsteps of the Métis people from Region 3, Métis Nation of Alberta. Now, most of you guys here are pros, but there will just be a couple of housekeeping notes for anybody who's new. We have some books available at the front. Come by the till, support these poets. There's some refreshments in that back corner. And if you need the washrooms, they're just through the door to your right. I'm going to hand things over to Single Onion's leader, who will also be having a launch with us on Wednesday, May 29th. So she should come out if you're able. Without further ado, David Martin.
Thanks, Emma. Thanks, everyone, for coming. This is indeed Single Onion number 202. We're very excited. Unfortunately, Micheline Maylor is not able to join us this evening. She's got a bad flu. She sends her regrets. She might be watching online, so hi, Micheline, feel better soon. So we'll be in contact with her, and hopefully we can have her at an upcoming event soon, because we want to hear the work that she's been up to. So we're going to have our three poets. We're going to go straight through, and then Bruce was kind enough to bring some snacks and refreshments for us, so after the reading we can all enjoy, take a look at the books, and have a chat and some snacks. And I'll have a few little housekeeping announcements that maybe I'll do towards the end. We're going to start off this evening with Weyman Chan. He was the recipient of the 2021 National Latner Poetry Prize and a 2008 Governor General's Award finalist for poetry. He's from Calgary, and his seventh book, A Child's Seance, is gestating. And he didn't mention it in his bio, but he's got 2 new poems in the latest Malahat Review, which I was reading last night. So I don't know if you've got your copy yet, but.
Oh, no, I did.
Okay. Maybe I'm just like giving you news that you don't know about. So please welcome Weyman Chan.
I ran to get my poems because I forgot them when I got here. And I didn't mean to delay. And a toast to Bruce, who I haven't seen in forever. But he's getting published regularly in Italy now, which is amazing. And so I hope to hear more of your wonderful stuff. Okay. So I'm going to, this book's from 2010. I just decided to visit some of the poems in here. Is this okay? Can you hear me?
You don't have to talk right into the mic.
Oh, okay.
Just close by is fine.
Okay. This poem is called Jazz. I'd like to draw a settlement over the roots of conflict once and for all, and say my piece on devotion. I've heard it said that Beethoven's Fifth, blared next to a hummingbird feeder, recently caused 2 males to collide, instantly impaling each other's hearts. Calliopes of nectar in the vast basal cisterns and calvaria of their brains made no difference. 2 dart-faced jewels sewn inside each other as they fell through the numb parasols of lilac. Maybe it was their antiquation of the frail cornered evening, enemies freed from their colors at last. Or they were Hamlet, getting over destiny and slithering. And what do the stelae teach us? That wars are the mildest antidote to suffering. Look towards the hummingbird of death, say the Aztecs, the gripping white on black star. I follow frost lines on trees that gray into morning, erasable smoke breath decipherable to the ancients. Their tongues went down with the Sundance to smoke their pipe with groundwater. Their spirit rose behind eggshell and snow, milk and clouds. On the corner of Elgin and Queen, beneath the banner of Mother Courage at the Arts Centre, a bearded guy in a Santa hat does half-turn jumps. I throw in a toonie and ask why. His smile's wreathed in snow vapor, so I walk away, not knowing whether to believe him or not. Will clouds know to save us when earth boils in these last days of the open hand? Cool, reflective insulation, white, is the lapidary spectrum of all our shades of paint. Maybe white is our one pure metaphor for mind. Survival in the camp, said Primo Levi, depended not on becoming a nobody, yielding to the appendix on murder that someone's freedom through work holds you in the balance, yes. But in the meantime, he helped the system, prescribing remedies, translating German, Polish, and Russian. He became the polyglot pharmacist. So it's through extreme trial that you learn what hungers streak humanity, pure as sandalwood or persistent as a lingering afternoon when the grab bag of stories begin and start to overflow. Their sweet impulses grow on me. Goodness has to stagger a little to adopt words into wonder, whose saving gratuity is just one more blip in the time scale of what is true to growth beneath the hummingbird's faint arcs, old enough to solve the aged aegis I'm sorting out on the page just now. Older than this game, mythical beginning, mythical end, of who said what first and how we came to be so hungry, even before singing turned the other way, before we could post our open hearts on air and watch depressed predicates of ourselves fly through. If the planet's just an arranged construct, then why is it so often beyond sense? No ready-made bicycle wheel on stools. No, it's just a black and white speckled formica table at Wong's, across from Sushi Go and La Pointe Seafood. Marcel Duchamp and I were both channeling passers-by for muteness after my Zach's burger and his Saslov hoagie, neither of which went down so well. Reflux, eased with tea and spring rolls. Free will in the middle of it feels like an invisible hand. We should have lived louder. Everything in existence had to escape an impulse to come into its own. And the impulses are what deliver us, I think, over to the judgments and abandonments. Who knows what alternate heavens are created here on the fly? White holes reach out to a night sky. The bee stows her honey, and here the voice of the dead is one source, out there, twinkling, remote. Knowing it's out there and being in here to greet it are subtle cognates of the same understanding. It was instilled to me at an early age that a deer sighting was rare. Even rarer, say the DNA anthropologists, was finding a blue-eyed child 10,000 years ago. Migration to the cool north into the less direct light cleared the way for a wider silence. Days lengthened, melanin receded, and the eyes crossed blue-green rivers, searching for the whiteness behind snow and clouds. Some found cotton, sugar, and moonshine. Others discovered the slave belt, transocean windfall, chained below to dream in extravagance. Empires are no longer a presence. The sly Illuminati or blunted Gloriana, underwhelming as a low whisper of hydrocarbons in today's groundwater. Working backwards, I see that purpose has always been ahead of self-destiny. The referent can't find function without its sense. The oldest footprints out to nowhere are as much provisional as they are tactile, intuitive without a compass. Borges once said that killing was as noble and ancient a path as procreation and dreams. I think he meant that such drives were at one time transparent to our hands and hearts. They were not estranged. Their motives stood for us, were clearly emotive without vocalized measured syllables. Once consonants wrapped their legs around their vowels, though, the sayable and the meaningful seemed to bury the essential. Good was uncorked, essentially determined to be atmospheric, loose, and available. Seduction and ornament began to subjugate enigma. Now the bone field is in flower. Mice, useless to memory, inquire. Skulls like us are waiting to wonder again in the first light of shale. In the first light of shale, it's a tired old collective that speaks now. Note to self: if I can't trace this moral line back to Eden or dry savanna, or the first laugh or cry, then maybe it's just not my place to say. A solo riff before words and artillery. Was it the prohibitive burst of jazz that split us in two, flesh and spirit, have and have not? To this day, the linguistic rhythms dart and grasp at metaphor, justifying ends the means, while light and dark searchlights scam through walls and windows of the real. This may well be the walls that home built. What belongs to me will finally change me, like a baby's helpless cry. What lets me out will also find a way to let me in. Today, above the falls at Takaka Falls, Today above the cliffs at Takaka Falls, you've got kingdom come pouring in like rust atoms. Every action is uncertain. Skewed forces find an aperture into earth. The water's mind bones tumble experience under the heuristic wheel. Bacteria are fallen replicants, but here people choose middle ground, material happiness over the hieratic hum of haiku. They let dying watersheds, sustainable rainbows, strip away what we know we knew. You don't have to. Okay, this one is a series of 4 short poems, kind of loosely related, and it's called Non-Confidence Vote and Butterfly Effect. My dependence is a mirror of my daughter's spontaneity that sees through heffalumps stirring the bead compartments at the glass bead store, shining even the dullest unthreaded dollop between her fingers, before the great act of stringing together hefts the beads out of lenticular clatter into narrative. A sense of worth finds the perfect stone whose spark can be worn at the ear and be coiffed on the neck and be heard to raise itself from the cradle right before my eyes. A young embittered face passed me by on the snowy walk. The cold narrowed our frames last year. We had to time our breaths before we intersected on that narrow pass so as not to breathe each other's cloud. Something about personal space and its visible effect. Bitterness. I realize I'm still judged somehow by myself through her eyes, clasped back in despair. Knowledge can't remedy this nor distance. Maybe all she and I have is time. Nothing, I thought, is worse than bitterness that wears its stroke on your face. Material slump. It's a sign we've given up. The pig-faced Wall Street dancing on news wires, reporting losses to the chairman of the Federal Reserve, rocking himself to sleep with a mouthful of Prozac, reporting truth that won't betray logic, will perhaps stall these vacancy signs whose Parthenon, Chaco, Uluru seem not so much to seek a doctrine but to lose one, while the cowed uvula curves like a good undertaker at odds with my optimism. I paint my tree into the wind. The plot wishes to release an exuberant moth, a citizen of common allegory. I'm fascinated by ignorance, all of its hopes and refusals, and moving restraints in starlight, wherever we are ever pushed back, just when we think we're near. And the last one. Near Milk River, looking for the sweetgrass hills. I did not come here to excuse myself or anyone else. It was because the feathered bracts and wind-whipped stalks that dry-lashed the warbler and her cheek, slant morning brow, like Aunt Mary wearing her hat shadow in this remarkable early heat, which seemed to sigh for more leafhoppers braying, rotten wood can't be carved. That I felt the dryness of the grass, the dewless brown quench of hard ground. Dryness, regret turned whole, thrush scold on willow stump, ashen, worry-free sagebrush or chokecherry about to raise its shade before high summer dried it behind an autumn cloud, browner than the gospel vegetation in this desert. I thought to myself, is it all about me or these black I-ams migrating needles of moisture? Touchdown of the fly? Scat-licked, sniffed, home free, as the deer make their way in single file across Milk River? Last year I saw them. Today They were as thin as that warbler was behind her stake of grass. Every sound and tree is a hermit. Not every hermit is a sound or tree. I'll be freer, but no further in knowing what it means. Sometimes the quiet act is the least scared sollops, and when they open, the horizon and the eye slit will see and speak as one. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Weyman. And thanks for running to get your book. Our next poet is Laurie D. Roadhouse. And she's a Calgary writer, poet, aphorist, and singer. She's involved with many poetry organizations and is a current board member of the Single Onion Poetry Series. From 2008 to 2010, she was the co-artistic director, performer, and MC for Lotus Land at South Country Fair. And she was the 2009 poet in residence for Radiant Light's e-magazine. Laurie created the Writing Toward the Light poetry contest and concert. She was the Poet Laureate for the 2015 Peter Zowski International PGI for Literacy event with Can Learn Society, which is a really wonderful event that I've also got to take part in 1 year. She's a featured reader at poetry and spoken word events and has been published in many anthologies, magazines, newsletters, websites, and CDs. Most recently, Laurie was the consulting editor for Word City Literary Journal. So please welcome Laurie D. Roadhouse.
Can anybody see me past this huge mic? Does it go down?
Maybe this time.
Well, that's better. Short girl problems, and it's not getting any better as I get older. I want to thank Bruce for inviting me to read with him tonight, and happy birthday. I may burst into song. And it's an honor to be reading here with Weyman. I'm very sorry that Micheline's not able to be with us. But thank you all for coming. There's a lot of events on tonight, literary events in Calgary, so thank you for choosing us. So some of you may know that I have a huge fascination with the night sky. And so this is a poem that was recently published called One Star. You blink at me from 1 billion miles away. I'm captivated, stopped in my tracks. The night sky closes down, focusing on one pinpoint of light. I stare back at you, my gaze unwavering. Wonder if, 1 billion miles away, someone sees the twinkle in my eye. Sorry, I'm really allergic tonight. This is called Continental Divide. I'm sure you can interpret this politically or any other number of ways, but Continental Divide. This continent is divided along fault lines, some buried deep, others at the surface. Plates grate against each other, deep silent screams within. The earth moans and shrieks with each shift, sends up walls, mountain barriers, fortresses built on upheaval and rupture. This continent is divided along fault lines, years of protest, antagonistic forces within, forced out into the open. And the mountains rise up like a hand in the face. Stop. No more. No more. We are a continent divided. Thanks. This one's called Truth. Haven't you discovered me yet? I've been confessing my sins all over the place. Reckless abandon, heart a-thumping as I drop my little hints like so many undetonated bombs. Adrenaline pumping with each sneaky, shifty-eyed placement of my diabolical discourses, each one sufficient to wreak havoc, devastation, annihilation in our midst. I am the ultimate masochist, a junkie addicted to the very thought of my own penitence, waiting for the truth police to bust my ass and haul me away, handcuffed to my need to be heard. It's a little dry in here. Can't wait for intermission. So on the heels of Mother's Day last Sunday, I have a couple of poems here that I wrote in memory of my mom, who's been gone half my life now. She died when I was 31, and I'm almost 63 now, so this is called Habits. My mother brushed and flossed with passion. She also smoked a pack a day for 35 years. My mother died of ovarian cancer at age 53. She had excellent teeth and gums. And then my younger sister, who is also now deceased, also of ovarian cancer, she and I went to Switzerland to our mom's ancestral home in 2001 before all the flight 9/11 stuff happened. We had a wonderful time and didn't realize that our mom's homeland was in the heart of Swiss wine country. We were very happy. This is called Commune d'Yvorne. Her town is called Yvorne. I climb up into your waiting arms, the longing in me superseded by knowledge. Ancient truths passed into me from the mothers before me. I need to know there is a certainty, not merely desire, to feel my mother's home, to drink her wine and know these are my vines. The wine is her blood flowing through my veins, flowing down my loins, fertile soil in the cup of my homeland, and I hear her say, and I hear him say, drink, do this in remembrance of me, as if I could forget. I suggest you go there. It's beautiful. The wine is excellent. This is called Immigrant Girl. I worked as a literary facilitator for most of my adult career and worked primarily with newcomers to Canada and their children. Immigrant girl, you sailed to Canada in mother's arms, beside determined father with his trunk full of science experiments, his academic mind intent on securing their future, his success. Your parents left their souls in the old country, brought you and all their hopes and dreams, their expectations heaped upon you, no time for play. Learn the language, shop with mother, read to father. Don't let us down. The failure of our family will be yours. You longed for a bicycle or a friend, but who had time to ride or play? To even think of such things was beyond selfish, with mother working as someone's maid and father, the professor, working long hours at the university as a janitor. You never wanted pity, just a moment with a friend in a pile of autumn leaves, a day in the warm summer sunshine, sprinklers, sand, a night under winter moonlight on a diamond snowdrift. Immigrant girl, your childhood lives only in the home of your ancestors. Your innocence plays in streets long deserted by wars and American dreams. Immigrant woman, as a child, you never knew you could want mercy or feel shame until you saw it in your own children's eyes. Didn't realize your childhood was stolen until it was too late. And right now you're working too damn hard to notice that it wasn't even your dream. This is Revelations. I think Weyman and I are having a bit of a apocalyptic theme here tonight. God wipes clean his slate, shale, igneous, shakes down his etch-a-sketch earth and starts over, admits to no one left that he wasn't perfect. Oceans strip evidence from the surface. Mountains fall to cover the mess we leave as our sins, souls, selves are erased. God's shame and mistake, his failure, gone. The sculptor destroys his experiment, throwing his clay in howling hurricanes of anger, titanic tsunamis of grief, aching avalanches of agony, his sorrow a potent purgative. Resigned and cleansed, he begins anew, takes earth up in his loving, forgiving hands to sculpt again. This is called In Etchisec. This is called In Essence. The essence is my weariness, body limp and bedraggled by effort, Heavy, burning eyes longing to succumb to the peace I crave. I ache to crawl into the sanctuary of my bed, wrapped up in comfort and security, no thinking required, because there I am permeated with knowledge. The spirit is my dreams, unconscious honesty, the reality of my soul. In that surrender, I can go deep within myself to my very core, to my darkest truth. I am loved, honored, valid, shameless, everything creation intends for me. I'm ready today to succumb to that truth. I am too tired today to argue. There is no power left in me to debate my significance. And so I relent, submit to the persistence of the truth which the Spirit breathes into me. I close my eyes and slip into that truth. When I am asleep, I am perfect. So I'm going to read a few haiku to finish off. Some of them are funny, some of them are morbid, but they're haiku. So, hey, thieving magpies, you get out of my trash can. Duke it out with crows. And given our recent experience with the Northern Lights, this is called Aurora. Northern Lights shimmer, undulating winter dance, celestial lovers. Being in the heart of beef country, I thought this was appropriate. This is about cows. Unsuspecting cows luxuriate in the field. Inside, red knives await. Here's another one about wine. There's a theme here. Juicy, ripened fruit, waiting on autumnal vines, pressed into service. Here's one called The Blues. Trumpet chastises wailing, mournful... Sorry, I'll start over. Trumpet chastises wailing, mournful saxophone. Piano just sulks. My last haiku, and then I've got one more poem. Luscious green apple, it's no wonder Eve succumbed. Temptress, Granny Smith. And here's one called Springtone. I thought I heard my cell phone tweet, the sweetest ringtone ever heard. I turned to find my phone and found that tweet came from a real bird. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Laureate. That was wonderful. We have one more poet this evening. And before I introduce Bruce, just a couple of quick announcements. If you want to find out more about the Single Onion, you can go to singleonion.com. We have an email list that you can sign up for. Once a month, you'll get a little update about our upcoming events. We're also on Twitter and Facebook. We're not on Instagram, so don't go looking for us there. I want to give a big thanks to the Calgary Arts Development, the League of Canadian Poets, Canada Council for the Arts, the Writers Guild of Alberta, and of course Shelf Life Books for all the support that they give us to keep these events going. We've been going for 24 years now, and we want to keep things rolling along. I want to thank the Single Onion Board, Kirk, Paul Kelly, Paul Marshall, Laurie, of course, Josephine, Will, and Audrey, our tech guru in the back. And we have a special open mic coming up. It'll be on May 30th, and that'll be...
The weekend, Tuesday the 4th.
Okay. So it's not tomorrow... No, it's not. It's next Thursday. Okay. What's that?
No,
23rd?
20th.
23rd. Okay. May 23rd is our open mic, and it'll be at Munch on 17th Ave. And we've got our featured poet for that evening is Miranda Krogstad. And then this one's kind of important. The next Single Onion, normally we're the third Thursday of every month. Next month we're going to be the fourth Thursday because Shelf Life is not doing events that particular week. So come back on June 27th. We've got Stuart Eaton Mackay, Miranda Krogstad, Josephine Larray, and Skylar Kay. We're really excited about that one. And I think that's it for me. So our final poet this evening is Bruce Hunter. His poems, stories, and essays have appeared in over 80 publications in Canada, China, India, Italy, the UK, and the US. His 10th and newest book, Galestro, follows a life in poetry, both from iQdB, I don't know how to say that in Italian. I'll let Bruce talk about that. His 2010 novel, In the Bear's House, won the Canadian Rockies Prize at the Banff Mountain Book and Film Festival. And in 2010, his book, 2 O'Clock Creek, Poems New and Selected, won the Acorn-Plantos Peoples Poetry Award for Canada. And we've got a copy here. Now, Bruce said you can't find a copy of this, but Shelf Life found a copy, so you might have to arm wrestle over who gets that one. But please welcome Bruce Hunter.
I'm going to save my thanks for the end because it's quite lengthy and I have some special announcements I'd like to make. I'd like to start with an excerpt from the poem 2 O'Clock Creek, which is also a book. 2 O'Clock Creek is located 90 miles west of Rocky Mountain House and on the sacred grounds of the indigenous people for over 5,000 years on Kootenai Plains. 2 O'Clock Creek was named by my great uncle, John Elliott, and he was a ranger at the time for the Alberta Forest Service, and his sense of whimsy comes through in the name. He was deafened by a bomb during the Second World War, and I was sent up to live with him in the summers, and I'm so grateful for that experience because it's given me a different perspective on life and a whole body of literary work which has found audiences around the world. I'm so humbled by that. The lesson John taught me was if I could not hear, I could see. And so I see the world differently. Thanks, John. This is an excerpt, so I'm going to read the last part of the poem. Below us, blonde grass riffles on Kootenai Plains. Clouds jam the chute, the weather comes through. Where the Kootenai descended to barter the Cree. Up here, the wind howls cold and so loud, John's words to my hearing aids, lost in the din. But it didn't matter when I saw how a few hours of daylight warmed the ice to a trickle that became a torrent in the glacier's pit. The mystery of rivers is that they come from somewhere between earth and sky, wrung by the sound from clouds and wind. When night comes, 2 O'Clock Creek sleeps. The waterfall waits frozen, and all the years since I learned how rivers are made, this is the place I come to in my dreams, between the highest point of land and the sky, so I can drink from the clouds. Poetry is about drinking from the clouds, and we heard that tonight, and I'm so honored and humbled to be reading with two lovely poets, and in the audience many more, and I thank you for coming out. I'm going to skip ahead because I want to keep this very tight, so I have time to talk about the announcements I'm going to make. So I'm just going to skip ahead to Galestro, the title poem for my latest book. If you bear with me. Galestro. Galestro is a word in the Tuscan dialect for the holy soil that gives the flavor, the unique flavors to Chianti wine. And I guess the irony is I'm not a wine drinker. I might prefer Scotch. But I studied soil and plants and trees at Olds Agricultural College when it was a college. And I apprenticed with many different gardeners and arborists from around the world. And I learned the language, the dialect of the different countries. And my first trip to Italy was immediately after I retired after teaching for 30 years. And before that, I had an apprenticeship and years of work as a gardener and arborist. So I went to Italy, and I got a place with my wife, Lisa, in overlooking the vineyard, and the vintner was out tending to his business. And I did what I'd learned in college. I bent down on my knees and I lifted up the soil and I tasted a little bit of it. And that tells you if the salt of the ancient seas or if it's acidic and what will grow in it. The other thing I learned is bit, the clumps, it's clay. And that, of course, was the perfect soil for the wine, the vine, and also the pears that were at the end of the orchard and the olives. Galestro. In German, it's Schist. There's many different names for this type of soil. And everywhere I went in Italy, they said, that's not what we call it here. And I said, I know. But I love dialects in any language. Galestro. I learned to read soil in my apprenticeship, and sky and wind, on the highest point of land where rain is made and wine, somewhere between alchemy and prayer, reverence and ritual. Francesco knows this too. It shows in the deft flash of his hand that lifts the grape, not tugs. If a gardener loves the earth, the leaves, the vintner loves the vine, the grapes. Sangiovese, Francesco says. Blood of Jove, I ask. Of course, he nods. Famous old vines, of which the Italian gardeners spoke long ago in my cold country, in a language I'd yet to learn. The storied place I long to visit all my life. The Romans stored their wine in caves, and the Etruscan too, their ruined tombs behind us. The ancient is recent here, and all around us. Francesco speaks of his classico, and Bucianga, a good name that, I say. My wife laughed at my lame joke, and Francesco hands us grapes. We roll them between our fingers as he shows us, until a blood-bright droplet appears. He raises a silent toast. Taste purple flesh. My wife kisses the ripe juice from hers and hands it to me and laughs again, drinking Chianti from the vine, sun's sugar. We are careful not to crush them, Francesco says, before he chews. It tears the skin and spoils the wine. A few more days, it will be ready. And he turns back to his jeep. And the leaves reach after him in their search. Shale crackles under my feet. Or maybe it's the riprap of an ancient river. I learned a new word. Sensitivo, they call the ones who know the rain long before the scant clouds leave the mountains. Sensitivi, the plural of the souls that can find water, make wine and poetry. Sensitiva, the woman who teaches the heart, who reads my eyes, who calms the animals, heals the beloved. So many here in this passionate country, reaching for a deep river coursing through us. Honey, hurry, my wife points to the clouds. It's getting windy. Oh, how I love my wife, La Sensitiva, as Francesco loves the vines, and I have found a name for us at a river. The last poem I'm going to read is a poem that occurred as I was traveling through Italy. And the funny thing about when I travel, I get homesick. And different things come back from the past. And so this is a poem about a kind of homesickness for the world. There is a road south of Firenze on the autostrada to Roma. There's a turn to the east toward the soft hills of old Toscana and her distant mountains. The road rides through the treetops, the vine dropped below us, opening south to Siena. On the road from everywhere to everywhere, as the poet Fabio says, I've always traveled in my dreams, in the dreams where I can see and hear everything, the road that goes always homeward, wherever I am. I found it again on the autostrada. My eyes open up as they always do as I drive toward Banff or Waterton, or the North Island to Cathedral Grove, in the Orkneys, on the ferry to Hoy, or the road along Loch Lomond. I'm flying again, like in my dreams. I've been this way before, but never before this way. And there's an osteria in a land where coffee is a small communion and food is a sacred offering. You are home, it says, traveling to this place where the maps tell you there's a distant vale where there's a river. Follow the Strada Bianca, the white road, my friend Alice says, to a castello in the olive groves, my room in a hilltop tower under a tiled roof, open onto the vineyards. At the end of the Strada Bianca, where my soul waits for me, a place I've never been, but I've always known. Thank you very much. You know, I had like capital letters at the beginning of this because I never do it, as my wife will attest. Stay on script. Now I get to go off script and relax, and I get to take this sports coat off. I would like you to come and join us after. Please come up and talk to me. You know, I haven't seen a lot of you in a long time, and I so appreciate people coming from a long ways away.
Phoning you.
I have a number of announcements and some thanks that I would like to give. The first announcement is that the last time I read here, which I think was in 2017, I read the first draft of a poem that I wrote while I was author in residence at the library. And the poem was kind of a complicated lyrical narrative documentary, I guess, too, about the oil refinery in Ogden and what was left behind, which is a horrible, horrible mess. Anyway, I read an early draft of it, and I got a standing ovation from Kirk Miles. Kirk, I love you. Because I was so nervous and afraid, and I deal with the complexity of the issue that it's an extended metaphor that oil, gasoline, and all that is a lover who has spurned it, and I go from there. And I'm very honored and grateful to the editors of Free Fall, and I understand some of them are here tonight. Just wave your hand so I can see. Okay. I just failed the eye test, get on my closet. But I saw something move. I'm so grateful because they have supported me over the years. And what's wonderful is they published this poem in the first place. And I know there's blowback from what perceived as criticism of big oil. And it's not criticism, it's much more complex than that, as our relationship is. And further to that, they submitted it for the Alberta Magazine Awards in Poetry, and I'm deeply honored by that. That's such a wonderful, I don't expect to win. I really don't. And at this point, I don't really care, you know. Like, I'm having all this good stuff. I don't want my CV to be any longer. But thank you. The other thing I want to do is thank Single Onion and David Martin and Lori and Kirk and everybody else who's involved for supporting all of us. And it really is a community, and I'm happy to come home to this event. And I proposed to David Martin, I have a birthday coming up and I'm coming home, and you know, could we do this event and could we invite these people who I care for greatly and their work. And unfortunately, Micheline can't be here tonight, and she's very upset about that because we talked about this for months. But I want to thank you guys for what you do and what you've done for me, and especially for tonight. The third group of people I'd like to thank is Shelf Life, and for supporting authors and supporting me over the years. I've done a lot of events here. Some of them I curated myself, and created these events around disability and things like that. And that support is absolutely essential. This is a small business. I'm a poet. I'm a small business. Weird to think of a poet as a small business, but it really is. So I think it's important that you support, and please, if you buy Margaret Atwood's book, I won't hold it against you, but please buy a book on the way out, or 2 or 3, and support the people who are running a small business that supports a lot of other people. I now have come to the point of the announcement. I'm hugely honored to be able to announce, and I got to find a book so I can show you. Oh, here it is, right there. Sorry about that. I was one of the editors of this book, along with John Walbarger and Alice Major, and I was absolutely honored that Micheline asked me, as she's one of the best editors and a brilliant teacher and poet, to edit her book. I believed in this book from the beginning, so much to the point I made this cocky statement on Facebook, of all places: this book is going to win prizes. And as soon as I said it, I went, oh, you idiot. But I was right. It did. And it was nominated for other prizes. Given that my publication in Italy had started, I thought, I want to take this book to Italy. See what happened. In the meantime, the book had been translated by Dr. Valeria Lee, and so on. So I took that and I talked to my friend in Italy. It was a bit of a negotiating and tough sledding for a while, and I began to think, why did I take this on? You know, I'm retired. It's a lot of work making a book. You don't take a translation and flip it like a pancake. You've got to have the cultural sensitivity and take the idea of the book and shape it for an Italian audience. But I'm very proud and I'm very happy, kind of like a father or grandfather, to announce that, and I won't try the Italian title, but this book has been translated, we're finished, the book is in the works, and will be on the stand in October. Yeah. Micheline, if you're listening, I hope you heard all that, and I hope I got most of it right. I'm also happy to announce at the same time Nella Casa dell'Orso, which is in the Bear's House, is also going to be published in Italy in October. I'm so moved by that. I'm so emotional tonight. Like, this is like, you know, if you haven't, and many people haven't, the publisher went out of business, the books were all sold. Used library books are selling for hundreds of dollars. I have been told it is a mountain classic in the vein of Wallace Stegner, who was one of the great writers in America in the last century. My mentor, not in person, but through the best way, through his books. It is a book about a young deaf boy who goes up to live with a great uncle who's a forest ranger. This poem that I read the excerpt from was the seed for it. And it is a story of a mother's struggle with her own mental illness while she's raising a deaf son. And the great uncle takes the boy under his wing, and he is witness to land theft, which of course I didn't know what that was at the time, but many of us like to go up to Lake Abraham. The story behind Lake Abraham is so ironic, so bitterly ironic, because it was land theft from the Stony Nakota, and it was named by a forest ranger who is not indigenous daughter in an essay contest for the man who never wanted that to happen, because it took away his trapping land, his hunting land. So every time I go by Lake Abraham, there's a little heaviness in my heart, knowing the story behind it. I didn't know when I wrote the novel that I was really writing about a thing that was way larger than myself. So I'm so grateful that that story has found an audience in Italy, as has my poem about Ogden. It is the one thing that the Italian critics mention. And the line in the poem, which I think points out, is Ogden is a metaphor. I've gone way off script here, but I do want to thank you all for coming, and I want to thank everybody who's been able to make this happen. And finally, I want to dedicate the evening to my wife, Lisa. Please, if you get an opportunity to go up and talk to her, do. And I thank you all for coming. This has been a terrific evening, and what a way to have a 72nd birthday. And we have Prosecco. And we have party sandwiches from Grumman. And I understand my sister-in-law, Chris, who is Scottish, has made tablet. And if you don't know what tablet is, it's where shortbread meets fudge. Yeah. She was making it for years, and I never got to have any because it was all gone by the time I got it back. Anyway, thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Bruce. Thanks everybody for coming out this evening, and thanks to Bruce for bringing some snacks and refreshments. So hopefully after the event you can hang out with us and chat for a little bit. Check out the books here and at the front. And again, thanks to all our readers, thanks to Shelf Life, and we hope to see you on June, what did I say? 27th. June 27th, or I've got a book launch May 29th, you can come to that too. So, and the open mic is next Thursday, the 23rd, at Munch on 17th. So thanks again, everyone. Have a great night.